Hello, my dear students. Warm welcome to all of you. We are with physics now. Okay, we'll be talking very seriously about physics now. Okay, myself is Dr. Shobboshachi Shen. I'll be offering you the physics courses, course objective, course outcome. You can see on the screen, and we are in outcome-based education. So every course is mapped with what is its probable outcomes, which I have illustrated later on. Now there are 5 modules. Now we'll be adapting one by one to each module and explore the world of physics. Now let us explore what is the topic of the day. You should keep one thing in mind, that whatever we teach in these classes, each video lecture is basically a building block of your future engineering courses. Each class is going to give you some fundamentals, some new concept. And if you add all those concepts at the end of the semester, you will get the correct path of entering into your own engineering curriculum, because all your curriculum are essentially the application of physics. Engineering means physics applications. So let us explore it a bit more. Hello and welcome to class 25 of my course on physics 1. Now we are busy with the classical optics, and in particular we are talking about the diffraction of light. My previous lecture was about the light diffraction of light with a single slit. In general, the word diffraction stands for bending of light. So if light wave gets bent, okay, around an obstacle or an aperture, that leads to the concept of diffraction. So how lights get diffracted through an aperture, how lights get diffracted at the end of an object or obstacle. So that story is the topic of our class. So in my first lecture about diffraction, I actually talked about the bending of light, or the diffraction of light rather, in case of a single slit. Today we will move towards the case for a double slit. Okay. And two things you should remember: for diffraction to happen, you need an obstacle the whose aperture or the size of the obstacle should be close to the wavelength of the incident radiation. So you need an obstacle like that much. Okay. So this is something that is we have to keep it in our mind. And also uh, that is when you talk about that, in we'll study diffraction in this case also. Mainly most of the time I'll talk about the light wave, that is visible light, for my discussion, but it is true for any electromagnetic wave. In physics lab also you are doing a diffraction experiment with laser, that is with grating, that is a multiple slit diffraction. So the journey is that we have started with single slit. Today I talk with about double slit, and similarly next part will be the multiple slit or diffraction grating. So how things are changing, so all these things I will highlight. So now, so objective of the class is to talk about the double slit diffraction and its corresponding intensity distribution and related discussion. And outcome is that after attending the class, is you'll be able to explain how intensity can vary in case of light waves getting diffracted in two slits. So this is a same story. So let me make a small recap of the basic concept of diffraction. So this is the identification of the visible spectrum. Basic concepts. Every lecture I will remind you the concept of phase difference, the concept of connection between wave path difference and phase difference. If you multiply path differences to pi by lambda in general, you get the phase difference. And these are the concept of diffraction coming into business. Diffraction means, as I told you, that the rectilinear motion theory tells us that light wave cannot go beyond the obstacle, but if the size of the obstacle is close to the wavelength of light, then light can obviously go to the other side. That is the story of the diffraction. Okay. Okay, this is an example. If I use a red light of a wavelength 8000 angstrom, it can go to the other side. Now, obviously, you can understand uh, this is the basic concept, the basic definition of diffraction of light, which talks about the bending of the light, okay, at the edge of an obstacle or an aperture. Now, this is, diffraction can be of two class. One is the Fraunhofer class and the Fresnel's class. And we'll mainly concentrate on the Fraunhofer diffraction, where the source and screen both are at infinity with respect to an obstacle, and that we achieve through a lens system. Okay, and for Fresnel's diffraction, that is not the story. So now, if you look back at the diagrammatic description of the Fraunhofer diffraction is a single slit. This is the story. Okay, the light wave is getting diffracted by an arbitrary angle theta. The experiment that you are doing in physics lab, there also you are trying to determine that angle theta in order to measure the wavelength of light, and this is Fresnel type diffraction. You see, there is no lens system is needed. Okay, and the screen and the source may not be, they do not necessarily be at infinity. Okay, and obviously this is the picturization of the story of the single slit diffraction, which I discussed in length in my previous lecture. And these are the two classes of Fresnel and Fraunhofer diffraction, as I mentioned. Now today, actually, if I concentrated after that actually on the single slit diffraction, this is the without diffraction. This is with diffraction, that is with bending of light. You see, light wave is getting bent. Okay, and forming an obstacle there. Okay, forming an image there rather. Now, obviously, that is the image created at the point P because of the diffracted beam, at the image that is the all the light wave that is meeting at O, that is because of the direct without diffraction. So the point O prime will lead to a high intensity that is usually called central maxima, and at point P will get some other intensity. So we'll get secondary maxima or minima as it obtained. So our modus operandi was that we calculated the displacement at the point dz initially for single each wavelength for a wavelength per unit length using the Huygens principle, because in those slit across that single slit, all points should be acting like the source of radiation, source of light, as you know. And you can also see here uh, the same story is coming up. So basically, if I consider a length element of dy, this is basically a dy sine of 2 pi by t and the phase difference between the waves reaching at the point P. So if I have to consider the contribution of the entire length there, then obviously it will be integrated over the total length. So the distance is d basically. D is the separation. Okay, d is this length. Okay, this overall length is d. So that this much of length is like d by 2, and this is also d by 2. Okay, so the total length makes d. Okay, that is the point you should remember. This is the total length is made is d. So with this in mind, we had to do an integration over the overall length d, as I have shown there in the picture, minus d by 2 to plus d by 2, and you get an expression of intensity, so which I calculated the other day in the direct to direct calculation. And obviously these are the various steps of the calculation. Okay, you can still see them on the screen, and you get a pattern like diffraction would be like, it will follow a formula I0 sine square alpha by alpha square, here it is beta by beta square. The way you define it is kb half kb by sine theta. Theta is the angle of diffraction, and you can see the picture. You get a central maxima there at when there is no deviation, no diffraction is there, and after that you get some secondary maxima or secondary minima. All these stories you know. Okay, and this has the graphical interpretation. This is how you look at the picture in the secondary in the single slit diffraction. Now today we'll actually move towards the double slit diffraction. You see, look at the picture, it is extremely wonderfully animated. The plane waves are coming because we are talking about Fraunhofer diffraction, where it is thought that the source of the radiation is at infinity with respect to the obstacle. So if it is at infinity, through that lens system that we achieved, that I discussed, the plane waves are actually coming. So plane waves are coming and they are actually passing through two slits. So you see all the secondary wave fronts are moving there, and ultimately, if you look at the picture very carefully, what these wave fronts are doing, they are doing an interference there. So the idea is that here diffraction is taking place, followed by interference of the waves being diffracted. You see, it's a very good animation is coming there on the screen. Okay, you can see there that the beam that is coming out through slit 1 and the beam that is passing out through slit 2, that is there will be direct beam, there will be diffracted beam. All of them are finally superposing with each other. Okay, and you get a double slit diffraction phenomena. Okay, now in a picturized way, if you have to see, this is what happens with one stick. Okay, you can see the light waves are coming in, and without diffraction, they will either go to the point at the bottom. That is the point that was like O prime point lastly, and it is another point there also. Now, if you bring in the another slit, this is the other slit. If it is coming, and as if I am sending red light, so I am getting two slits there. Now you see at that particular point P, actually what is happening, two waves are actually superposing with each other, and at O also, O superposition of the waves coming from both the slits are happening, and at the P also superposition of the both waves coming from both the slits are also taking place. So waves are meeting at the point P, and sorry, and also they are meeting at the point O, and ultimately I'll get a okay, superposed image there. Okay, superposition means there will be interference also. So two things are happening. Now we consider the width of the slit 1 is A, width of the slit 2 is also A, and the separation between the two slit is B. So A plus B is basically summation of a slit width and an obstacle. Okay. So now this idea will be needed, okay, in the studies of multiple slit diffraction. And D is the center to center distance, at the center of the middle of the slit 1 to middle of the slit 2, that we can also see on the screen. Now what would happen now if I have to picturize it, you see two slits are again there. AB is the slit 1 and CD is the slit 2, and basically radiation slit widths are A. Radiation and slit, the gap between the aperture is, the obstacle is of width B. The separation, the green line actually marking, okay, that the separation between them. So ultimately A by 2, you see, if the green lines are at the middle of the slits, so it is divided into two lanes, minus A by 2 to plus A by 2 in both the cases. Okay, so obviously you can define it like this. So now therefore if I begin from the center of one of the slits, the other one will be D plus something, because you see D is the, suppose I want to go from the bottom green line to the top of red line, you see it is basically D plus A by 2 kind of thing. Okay, and the other one will be D minus A by 2, obviously. So basically in this way, this idea will be needed when we will be calculating the final intensity. Now if you have understood this much, now our next job is simple. Next job is to now again go for the describing the displacement of the waves superposing at P. So I will adapt the same technique that I did for single slit case. So I will calculate the intensity at the point, okay, at the point P. Okay, I will calculate the intensity at the point P. Say what is the final intensity. Say initially I will calculate the intensity for single wavelet coming. Okay, so that is wavelet per unit length. Then I will consider all the points that is contributed by the over a certain length element. Then we integrate it over the length. Now two terms will be coming, one for the slit 1 and the other term will be coming from slit 2. Earlier we did it for slit 1. So what we did for single slit, let us revisit that. Remember the case of single slit, this was happening with single slit. So we calculated initially the dz at a given point. Now after that, if I consider any length element, say dy is any length element, so over this length element dy, what we shall do, okay, if I consider, okay, k is the amplitude, okay, then it is k dy sine and the phase difference between the waves coming in. Okay, so this is the expression. So similar idea will be there. This is a contribution from slit 1, so other slit will also contribute. Now here it is contributed by both the slides. So basically we'll be having two terms now. I hope you realize. To tell you, repeat the story. In this single slit, this expression was contributing. This was the contribution due to one slit only. Okay. Now I am considering a double slit case. So now both the slits will contribute. So it will be an amalgamation of the effects coming from both the slits. So if you realize that, okay, so the idea is that if you realize that this is the effect of the both the slits. So I have to consider the total displacement at P. If I consider the one of the slit width is say minus a by 2 to plus a by 2, that is leading to an intensity maybe dz1 at the point P. The other slit obviously will be d minus a by 2, because if we consider, if I put it here, so you see this is minus a by 2 to plus a by 2. That means when you do this much, you are basically considering this integration, you are basically considering this slit. And when you consider d minus a by 2, because you can see this is okay, d minus a by 2, that means as if you are at minus a by 2, you are adding d with that. Okay, d minus a by 2 means you can see here this much of length is d. So basically it is d. Okay, d minus a by 2 means you are living here. Okay, just let me complete these a by 2s. And d plus a by 2, that means you are living here. So that means you are this is taking care of the effect of the second slit. Okay, so both the slits are considered, and if I add them, they will be now actually contributing to the final intensity. Okay, so the final intensity that will be coming at the point P, as you can see with the description of all a by 2s and d's there, it will be the summation over k sine of 2 pi t by t, and the phase term, that is r minus y sine theta. How it is coming, that you have studied in the single slit diffraction. Okay, that is how you calculate the phase term, and similarly for the other term also. Okay, 2 sine 2 pi by t by t, r minus y sine theta by lambda dy. So they will both will contribute. Now I'll actually show you what is the addition of these two. If I add these two, then what is the final result? So please see it very carefully. So this is the contribution from the slit 1, and this is the contribution from slit 2. So basically I am considering their added contribution. If they together come, they're joining at a point P here, say arbitrarily. So what is the effect of that? What is the conjugal effect of this? So let me explore that. So for that purpose, let us do some direct calculation. Okay, so let us explore this to some direct calculation. Is coming from the slit 2. Therefore, if you look at the next line of the calculation, so if I integrate this sine term over this patch of limit, sine will get into cos, and your limit of integration, to put it, it will go from minus a by 2 to plus a by 2. Similarly, for the other term that is present here in this expression, for the other term also, you can see it would be like this much. You see, cos same thing will come, only the limit will change. Okay, again the cos term, and only the limit is changing. So my next job is to add the limits. Now put the limits here. Okay, so only y will be changed because it is an integration over y. So basically, if I do that, okay, to do this, what my expression looks like. So if you put it If you replaced it, you get a plus a by 2 here, and you get a minus a by 2. The two limits. And in the next case, you get plus d plus a by 2 and d minus a by 2. So your next job is basically, you see, you have to add it now, because it is basically nothing but this quantity is nothing but giving you cos a minus cos b kind of thing. So you'll get a minus of 2 sine, you see, can a plus b by 2 minus a minus b by 2. So those two terms are coming. So if you get it, so this is your expression. Okay, one, this is a sine term, this is coming from here, and the other term is also going to give you the same thing, because here also a cos a minus cos b is going on. Okay, so if you apply the same formula, you will get a similar quantity. Okay, okay, so only difference is that here you get this extra term, and here it is. Okay, and this is the other term. Okay, and so therefore, if I go to the next line, we can see next page, we can realize the calculations would look like this one. That this is my final. This is, you see, as I have told you. Okay, this minus sign was there. This is the contribution from slit 1. This is the contribution from slit 2. So if I integrate sign, I'll get cos with a minus sign, and this is the function. These are the remaining same. These are the limit minus a by 2 to plus a by 2. And in this case also, if I integrate sign, I will get cos with a minus sign. And because of integration, these things are coming up in front of this, and this is remaining same. And limits are like d minus a by 2 to d plus a by 2. So now I put the limits. If I put the limits, it will be coming like this much. You see, only thing is y is replaced by plus a by 2, and here y is replaced by minus a by 2. Here y is replaced by d plus a by 2. So d means this is a plus d contribution, and this is plus a by 2 contribution, and d minus a by 2. So this is plus d contribution, this is minus a by 2 contribution. So these are the values, and these minus signs are all as remaining there. Now this is again as I told you just now, this is basically a cos a minus cos b type formula, and this is also a cos a minus cos b by formula. So you apply the formula of cos a minus cos b, that is minus of sin a minus b by 2 to sin a plus b by 2. So if I use that formula, you see this is the there was earlier there was a minus, you get another minus, and you get sin a plus b by 2 contribution is this much, and this is sin a minus b by 2 contribution. Here also in the next case also 2 minus 1 extra minus is coming because of cos a minus cos b formula. This is basically sin a plus b by 2 formula, and this is sin a minus b by 2 formula. So I did it very flat. Okay, so basically this is actually sin a plus b by 2, and this term is actually sin a minus b by 2, and for that will be larger term. So if I put the values here, okay, and in this case this is a sin a plus b by 2 term, and this is basically sin a minus b2 term. So if I now check these values, you can realize very easily that these twos are actually two twos. This will be cancelled. Okay, one of the two will be gone. Or this 2 pi will be also one of the twos will be gone, and again there will be twice terms will be coming. This will be all twice. This two will be cancelled. These will be cancelled. Okay, only this term will remain. So all these things you can realize. Okay, so if you look at this expression, obviously the expression of z will now become this much. Okay, sine of 2 pi t minus r lambda, and this is the remaining term. Okay, these two will cancel as I mentioned. In the other part also you see Okay, it is remaining the same. This is again coming from sine a plus b by 2, and this 2 cancelled, and this much. Okay, this is k lambda by 2 pi sine theta. So this is sine of 2 pi t minus t r minus lambda, this one. Now this pi a sine theta by lambda we regard as something like say alpha, as it is written here. And this is 2 sine of t minus r by lambda, t sine theta by lambda. This is pi a sine theta by 2 to pi a sine theta by lambda. This will be also alpha. So therefore this term is basically, you can write down, this will remain same. This is nothing but sine alpha. Here also it is also becoming like sine alpha. So next line of the equation will therefore be, you see this is sine alpha. Now this quantity is slightly different. Okay, this quantity is slightly different. Sorry, just get back to the previous page. This is actually pi d sine theta by lambda. Okay, the other term. Okay, this pi d sine theta by lambda will consider as beta. So therefore, if I look at this expression, pi a sine theta by lambda is alpha. So this is sine 2 pi t by t by r, this much. This 2 cancels. You are getting this much. So pi a, if I multiply this with a in the numerator and the numerator and denominator, pi sine theta by lambda, this means this is 1 by alpha. So you are getting ka. Okay, and one sine alpha is here, sine alpha by alpha, and sine term like this much. The other term is that sine of 2 pi plus sine of 2 pi t minus t r by lambda plus d sine theta plus pi. Okay, this is one term, and the other term is this much. You see, if I take it common, as you can see here, so as I was telling you, okay, this will be a, okay, to a sine theta by lambda. So this is alpha, this is also alpha. So this term is nothing but sine alpha. Okay, so basically if you look pi a sine theta by lambda, so this is also the sine alpha term. So if you look at the expression here, you can see this is k. I multiply with a on numerator and the denominator. So this is k pi a sine theta by lambda is 1 by alpha. So if I take alpha, sine alpha common, okay, say there is a sine alpha, here is also a sine alpha. So sine alpha is taken out. So k sine alpha by alpha. So this term sine of 2 pi t minus t r by lambda, and this other term, okay, which is only different by this d sine theta by lambda term. Okay, so your job is to, now you have got a formula like sine a plus sine B kind of formula. Now you have to apply that uh, trigonometric formula, 2 sine of A plus B by 2 into sine of A minus B by 2. So if I apply that idea, your expression of Z will now become, um, you see K sine alpha by alpha, there is no change. Now you are, if you add it, one of the term is 2i sine of A plus B by 2. Okay, this is your A plus B by 2 term. And if I do A minus B by 2, then I get 2 sine of A plus B by 2 and into cos A minus B by 2. Okay, so basically it is A minus B by 2 is giving you this much. Okay, if you look at the expression in the previous page, okay, it will be like this much. Get back to the expression of the previous page. You see, this is sine A plus sine B. So basically, if you look at the expression, this is sine A plus sine B. So this is 2i sine of A plus B by 2. This is A plus B. This is A, and this is plus B. This is like A, and this is like B, and this is cos of A, and this term is like B, A minus B by 2. So sine of, you see these two terms will cancel. Okay, you see this will be 2i'd. Okay, 2. So basically 2 will cancel. So you get sine of t by t r minus lambda plus d sine theta by lambda, 2 lambda. And the other one is that cos term will give you this t, this will cancel. Okay, this will cancel, and you are only happy with this cos of minus d sine theta by 2 lambda. Now 2 will cancel from here, so you will get a pi d sine theta by lambda kind of thing in that expression. So the next term of the equation would be like this one: k sine alpha by alpha. You get this much pi d sine theta by lambda and cos of sorry, and yes, t by t minus r by lambda plus d sine theta by 2 lambda and cos of this term. Now this pi d sine theta by lambda is considered something like beta. So your expression now becomes z is equal to this 2 is coming here, k sine alpha by alpha cos of beta. Okay, sine of 2 pi this much. So this is basically the new amplitude. Okay, 2k sine alpha by alpha cos beta. So this is your new amplitude, and this is the obviously the phase term. It's a wave equation. These are phase. So therefore now if you look at the equation, you can realize that sine square alpha by alpha square is that of because of the single slit diffraction, and cos square beta is the additional term. Okay, and this is happening because of the interference between the two waves coming out of the two slings. Okay, so 4I0, okay, is the new amplitude. It was earlier I0 with single slit. Now when you with two slits, you get basically 4 times I0. Okay, and that is going to happen when alpha is 0, beta is 0, that is no diffraction at all. Okay. Now here alpha is obviously pi d sine theta by lambda, so it all depends on the angle of diffraction theta. And that cos square beta, okay, as you can see, it is the additional term. Okay, now obviously as I mentioned there, k was pi d sine theta by lambda, sorry, alpha is pi d sine theta by lambda, and beta is alpha is pi a sine theta by lambda, and beta is pi d sine theta by lambda. Okay, so this is the new intensity. Okay, in the case of single slit diffraction, in the double slit diffraction, 4I0 sine square alpha by alpha square cos square beta. Condition of central maxima is that alpha equal to pi sine theta by lambda, beta pi d sine theta by lambda. So both alpha beta 0 means theta is 0. Okay, so this gives me in the limit, alpha 0 means it's a limiting problem. So basically sine square alpha by alpha is giving you 1, cos square beta is always 1, so it is a 4 times I0. Okay, as you can see on the screen.
Now here comes the condition for central condition of the minima. Okay, that is a working formula. Now for minima, sine square alpha, that sine alpha term is going to be 0. Alpha beta are explained there. Alpha will be then plus minus m pi. So if you put the value of alpha pi sine theta by lambda, this gives you a sine theta m is equal to plus minus m lambda, and this is the condition for the minimum of the diffraction pattern, okay, using double slit. And cos square beta, it is all about the diffraction term, single slit. Now if I look at the condition in beta, cos square beta is 0, so that means beta is equal to plus minus 2n, 2n beta is 2n plus minus 1 pi by 2, where n stands from 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And if you put the beta value, beta is equal to pi d sine theta by lambda, pi cancels, so d is equal to basically a plus b, so it becomes like a plus b sine theta by lambda 2n plus 1 pi by 2. So this gives you the formula of the minimum in the double slit diffraction in terms of beta as a plus b sine theta. Okay, that 2 will be getting inside, so n plus minus half lambda will move up by, okay, so plus minus or 2n plus 1 lambda by 2, whatever you plus 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2, whatever you say. Okay, a plus b is, that is the, it is a, with a is the slit width and b is the gap between the aperture between the two slits. Okay, so this is the condition for the minimum in case of double slit diffraction. Now there is a condition for the secondary maximum in the interference pattern. Okay, that will get for, because of the interference term, cos square beta is 1, beta equal to plus minus n pi, because cos 0 is 1, you know, so basically n plus minus n 0 values will be 0 plus 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay, a and b, as you can see, and that is the expression of d. So b is pi d sine theta by lambda. Okay, so if you put the value plus minus n pi, so this gives me pi a plus b sine theta by lambda. So lambda pi cancels, plus b sine theta plus minus lambda, and lambda is a condition. Now another very vital concept, another very important concept in the case of when you have got more than one slit and diffraction, okay, is the concept of missing order. Okay, the missing order concept will come up the moment you, when the diffraction minima and interference maxima converges with each other. Okay, so that will come up. Okay, so this is a very, it will see the same thing in the case of our multiple slit diffraction also. Now this is a pattern, diffraction, double slit diffraction pattern. Okay, the, you can see with arrowheads, there is a diffracted beams, and if no diffraction was there, it would have been making the central maxima. So with the red, actually we are indicating the interference pattern, and you see the in the envelope of the interference pattern, that is a diffraction patterns are there. So it's a, that red line is basically because of the, is the envelope. Okay, that is because of the cos square beta term. Okay, cos square beta variation, and inside the envelope you get the single slit diffraction term. Okay, because two single slits are participating there. Now you can always see there, it is marked there, there is a central maxima, and these are the first order on the right hand side and left hand side of central maxima. These are all the secondary minima, sorry, secondary maximas. Okay, and obviously two maximas are separated by the minima. So this is very interesting. Okay, the n equal to 1, the first order, n is for, is the suffix I use for the interference contribution, and sorry, m is the suffix we are using for the fraction contribution. You can see there on the screen. Now here comes the discussion of the on the missing order interference maxima. The same old picture, A and B are defined there. D, A and B, A, D is equal to A plus B. As you can see, is the width of a single slit. B is the spacing, and the way I've drawn it, you see A by 2 is actually the half of the slit. So basically, D makes A plus B. Okay. Now the condition of the missing order is that if some value of the angle of diffraction theta and that is diffraction minimum of the single slit diffraction and the interference maxima, if they fall on each other, then that particular order will be lost. Okay, so A plus B sin theta is the equal to n lambda is the condition for the uh, basically interference maxima, and A sin theta equal to lambda m lambda is the condition for the diffraction minimum. So if they are superposing with, if they matches with each other, okay, then what I have to do, if I take a division of the two equations, A plus B by A equal to n by lambda. Now you'll see a case now, how if I vary the relationship between A and B, actually you can get the order number also. You realize, suppose I choose A is equal to B. There is the width of the slit and the diffraction, uh, and the separation between the two slits are same. Then as you can see here, that if I choose that is to be equal, then my relationship between m and n is n equal to 2m. So if you choose m as I've shown you earlier, like 1 to 3 up to 2 to 3 of these values, then n will take the values like 2, 4, 6. So the concept is that second order, fourth order, and sixth order interference maxima will be absent, and because it is coinciding with first order, second order, and third order diffraction minimum. Okay, so this is the concept of the missing order, and this is very vital. Okay, so as you can see further on the screen, the same picture I am drawing, experience it, you will see it here. Okay, this is how it is formed. These are the interference part. Okay, interference, the central maxima on the left and right, you are getting the first order left and first order right, and the okay, and the interference inside the first order left and right interference maxima, principal maxima we call it, and now inside that red one is basically because of the single slit diffraction term. Okay, so a missing order is coming if the maxima, if the minima of the single slit is actually coinciding with the maxima of the double slits. Now m equal to 1, 2, 3, corresponding value of, okay, this is the diffraction minimum as I have shown you. It is going to converge, okay, and both for AB are equal with the second, fourth, and sixth order interference maxima. So those second, fourth, sixth order interference maxima will be absent. So that is a double slit diffraction pattern. As you can see, it's a beautiful picture. Okay, you can see it a more better way, that it is varying there, and as you go away, you see from the central max, the interference part, you see the intensity is radically dropping. Okay, and you can see there. Okay, very quick fall, and there is a pattern as you can see on the right hand side, red and black alternation. Okay, there's a variation in intensity due to the diffraction. Actually, you'll do an experiment in the lab with where number of slits are more, with that we call critting, and that I shall discuss in next day's class. You'll see there, you will place there how it is changing. Now these are the missing orders. Okay, you see that particular one, the third order, n equal to 3. Okay, the third order single slit 1, 2, 3. Yes, third order single slit minima is converging with the interference maxima. Okay, as you can see there. So that is okay.
You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together, it's so beautiful. You and me, we meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back